Welcome back into another video. In today's video, we're going to overview everything Behaviour has publicly said about a DBD sequel, story mode, and feature film. There's so much information out there, and a lot of giant horror video game franchises have taken these steps already. We'll talk about if Behaviour is even in a position to take these kinds of steps with Dead by Daylight.
Would there ever really need to be a Dead by Daylight 2, or do you just keep making new updates and adding new things to the first Dead by Daylight?
If I knew this with absolute certainty, I would be I don't know, but my boss would be really happy. Like literally, it's these are the kind of questions that we ask ourselves all the time. The term game as a service didn't exist 5 years ago, really.
How's it going, everyone? My name is Schmuckles. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I also stream on Twitch on Wednesday and Sunday nights. The link for that is in the description below. I know a lot of people are hoping for change on DBD to bring a fresh take to the same repetitive game. We're going to explore if these ideas even make sense for Dead by Daylight and if these can take DBD to the next level. There's been a lot of talk about a DBD sequel over the years.
It's a conversation we've had in the past, and it's a conversation I think we'll keep having also. Like, is it time to start a sequel? But the whole point of a sequel is that it's there to replace the original. And if the original is still valid, if it's still active, if it's still thriving, then there's no point in doing a sequel.
A lot of giant horror video game franchises out there like Five Nights at Freddy's, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, The Evil Within, Dead Space, Tomb Raider, and Outlast all have sequels. Every game listed here is able to have sequels because they have some sort of story mode in their game. So once players finish the story, they can continue the story via buying the sequel. This kind of gives players incentive to purchase the sequel.
We often get the question asked, how about Dead by Daylight 2, you know? And it's a very valid question, and we ask ourselves that same question, but the answer is, if we have more people right now, if we have more people available, we'll put them on Dead by Daylight. We won't put them on Dead by Daylight 2, because Dead by Daylight is a game that millions of people want to play right now. So we're not going to take that away from them. We're just going to give them more.
So obviously the way that DBD is set up right now, we only have a 1v4 multiplayer game mode. So actually DBD is more similar to first-person shooter multiplayer games in this way than to other horror video games. Franchises like COD do have sequels. Unlike DBD, the COD player base is so big that the in-game player count is large enough to divide up the community without taking a risk. Not only that, the first-person shooter genre is pretty established.
As long as people are actively enjoying the game, as long as they're playing the game and they're eager for more content, as long as the next chapter gathers as much enthusiasm as it still does, there's no sane reason for us to divert any of our energy or attention away from this game.
Also, if they're going to continue adding original content to the game, that's pretty much a version of a sequel too.
So for now, for us, it's stuff. Instead, we decided to do stuff like we've done with the Realm Beyond, like the big graphic update that we've done. We're like 5 years down the line, you know, we've learned so much about what we can do in this game, how we can build things, how we can tell stories through our environment, through the characters and their outfits. Like what the game was 5 years ago is really far from what the game is today. So having that sort of, well, taking the luxury or investing in that sort of, you know, big rework it's kind of a big deal. It was a bit of a bold move, but we decided it needed a fresh coat of paint.
So as of right now, there's no DBD sequel plans, and I don't think there should be. This means that all of Behaviour's income comes from in-game purchases like cosmetics, chapter releases, DBD merchandise, and platforms they're monetized on like YouTube.
Right now, we need to monetize, obviously. I mean, any project of that magnitude, and especially because we keep growing the team, I think there's probably over 300 people right now, like every day working actively on Dead by Daylight. And that means that we need to make sure that players have a way to pay some money and to show their commitment by buying stuff that then they feel has value.
The closest thing we have to a story mode is the archive. I think a story mode could be a cool way to add a new kind of content to DBD. This could be a single player mode like Resident Evil, or some sort of missions co-op game mode like Left 4 Dead 2, or a decision-making game like the Walking Dead game. Would you want to see a story mode in DBD? Let me know in the comments below. Obviously, we already have the archives, but this isn't exactly the same as the story modes.
Is there anything in the near future that you're going to be doing that really brings out the lore more? Maybe like a story mode or something? Or
Well, that is a very good question. I don't think we'll And I say that we tend to break every rule that we make as we make them, but I don't think we'll ever make a story mode per se.
Okay.
But the archives have become more and more as a vehicle for us to paint a lot more lore and to create more of those like one-shot little challenges and different ways to play. But mostly the tomes of the archive, every time there's a new tome, there's quite a lot of backstory and lore that we are able to infuse in there, and we're gonna keep doing that. That's for certain.
We've got crossovers from Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and Left 4 Dead. This means within the DBD community, a lot of people probably like story modes.
We're trying to create emotions. We're trying to create reactions. We're trying to put you into a frame of mind. We're trying to make you live things. And obviously, the more you can create an intense ambiance and an atmosphere that's deep and rich, the better it's going to be.
DBD isn't a competitive game, it's a casual game, and I feel like story modes work really well in this type of environment. They could use a story mode to deepen the DBD lore and kind of foreshadow upcoming content in the multiplayer mode, kind of like a better version of the archive. People love characters like Bill, Jill, Claire, Leon, and Chris because the story modes from their parent games, which we don't exactly have for DBD outside of the archives.
But we want the game to still be valid for a couple years, at least. I mean, we have more stories to tell. We have more gameplay mechanics that we want to bring in, and the players want more. So we'll continue.
A story mode would cost Behaviour a lot of resources, which they've been spending on what's been working: patch updates, new maps, and 4 chapters a year. So maybe they feel fearful to try, or it's just not a part of Behaviour's vision for the game. I'm not sure if a story mode would hurt the player count on the online mode. It'd be pretty sad to see DBD fall if people lose interest in playing the same game mode over and over. Another thing I've seen talked about is the idea of a Dead by Daylight feature film or TV series. Cote mentioned this in an interview in 2019.
You were in talk with Netflix, so will we see maybe a Netflix series or a movie in theaters, something like that? Someday,
If
maybe?
we were working on something like that and we hadn't announced it yet, I wouldn't be able to talk about it right now.
That's cool, because that's not a no. We'll see.
That's it.
Resident Evil is a giant horror franchise that has a TV series, and a lot of other horror video game franchises do too. Is Dead by Daylight at this level yet? So the first Resident Evil film was released in 2002, and the top grossing Resident Evil game from 2002 or before is the original Resident Evil 2 from 1998, which has sold about 5 million copies. So I'd say that Behaviour is at least close to considering this kind of milestone. Sony Scream Gems distributed all of the Resident Evil films to date. Making high quality films can be expensive, and in Hollywood, if a film budget has under $10 million, is considered low budget. Mortal Kombat is a big video game franchise that released a film in 2021, which was produced by New Line Cinema and a couple other companies. The film was distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures. The Last of Us had a canceled film that was going to be backed by Sony's film division Screen Gems. The Silent Hill franchise has also released a movie, produced and distributed by some smaller indie companies. Five Nights at Freddy's movie is scheduled to release in 2022. It's being produced by Blumhouse Productions. Blumhouse Productions also produced Halloween, Us, Get Out, Paranormal Activity, and more. So if Behaviour ever had an interest in making a movie, I'd honestly expect one of these major production companies to be involved, especially since Behaviour has had a past relationship with Warner Bros. Interactive and New Line Cinema. These big companies have been involved with other major horror video game franchises. And the bigger that DBD gets, the more likely a collaboration like this will happen. Obviously, we'd likely see one of Behaviour's original characters in a Dead by Daylight movie. And there's so many different directions that Behaviour could take a movie or TV series. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Also, let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.